Welcome back, everyone. I have a little bit different video this week. This unit here, this AC unit, I replaced my old one, of course. I replaced it with this Mr. Cool DIY universal unit. This unit, the line set going up into the attic and the air handler, to all of it, was roughly $5,500 2 years ago. I replaced it because my old unit was dying, and it was your traditional 5-ton unit, where this is it's more of a high-tech, advanced, with the inverter motors and all that stuff, DC motors, much more efficient when it works. So I bought this to replace my old one because I have solar panels. I got the inverter chargers, I got battery backup, all that. My old unit used up way too much electricity, way too much. When that sucker would kick on, the lights would go boom, and just dim, you know, and then go back on again. That used up a lot of electricity, because just to get that thing going, to kickstart it, it used a lot. This, on the other hand, does not. This runs really nice. You don't even know it kicks on. The lights don't dim or anything like that. But that's why I got this unit, and it's a DIY unit, meaning you install it yourself. The lines going up into the air handler, that's all DIY. They are all pre-vacuumed, so they have special connections. You connect them. They got special valves down there where you have to shut them off, you know, turn them back on, I should say, once you get everything connected. But all the Freon is contained in here. Okay, once you get all the lines hooked up, everything's hooked up. And with these valves down here, you can open it up and it'll fill the lines up. Everything's pre-vacuumed, and it's just DIY. That's great. The problem is my air handler is made by Gree. It's still tagged under Mr. Cool, but the unit itself is a Gree unit, Gree. And the evaporator coil, the part that gets cold in the summer and warm in the winter, that started leaking. So I had a technician guy come up here, checked it out with a sniffer, and sure enough, it was leaking. It wasn't, you know, it was barely coming out lukewarm, the air, during the winter time, and during the summer it was barely coming out at all cool, but just a little bit cool, and it would run all day basically. So he came out there and checked it out, and it was leaking. So I ordered a new, well, after the guy checked it with the sniffer and he said that the evaporator coil was leaking, I called up Mr. Cool and had, you know, ordered another one. And that's the thing about these. This is all do-it-yourself. There is no, at least in my area there isn't, HVAC guy will not service these. They will not service them. It's all up to you. If something happens to these things, it's up to you to call up Mr. Cool, you know, of course after you register with the Mr. Cool. If something happens, you have to call them up and explain the situation, and their technicians have to figure it out, and they'll send you parts, and then you have to replace them. Even if it's a board inside or anything in there, you have to change it. And in my case, it was the evaporator coil. So let me show you what the evaporator coil looked like just after one season of use. So basically, it was summer and winter I used it. But the winter doesn't really count because it heats up. The summer is when it condensates. And well, let me show you what it looked like. So this is the evaporator coil after you take the cover off. And again, 1.5 years at most use out of this. And this is completely unacceptable. Completely rusted. All the sheet metal you see there is galvanized and completely rusted out. Completely unacceptable for something that's 1.5 years. I would expect this maybe after 7-8 years just to look like that. But yeah, really bad quality. So now I'm taking the old evaporator coil out and bringing it down. This is the only way that I can do it. I just tied it with a rope and brought it down. It's fairly heavy, but you know, take your time. There's not much room up there, and I was hunched over when I was doing this, so it was a pain. So the old evaporator coil is on the right and the new one is on the left. I had to switch out the very top plate and the base with the new one. I had to sort of take it off the old one and put it on the new one. Alright, so alt with the old and up with the new one. This is the new evaporator coil, and pulling it up was a little bit harder. So after installing the evaporator coil, I started to remove the lines, the line set that goes in from the outside unit to the air handler in the attic. So before taking off the lines, the line set, you have to make sure that the valves to those line sets are off. So you have to close them on the air handler and on the outside unit, because whatever refrigerant you have will remain inside the outside unit. So now I can take off the line set, and these have special valves in the connections that if you unscrew them, you won't lose any vacuum, or you shouldn't lose any vacuum, put it that way. And then just do the same thing with the other side, the smaller line, until it comes off. Once you've disconnected the lines from the outside unit and the air handler and disconnected everything, you can start pulling that line out. So now I need to roll out the line set on the ground right next to each other. The other line set was thicker, it's a bigger diameter, and I needed my wife to hold one end down while I unroll it. But this one was thinner and was no problem. And then what I was doing is duct taping them together. Makes it easier to put it in that way. So now I'm ready to put the line set through into the attic. And the problem I was having, and I had the same problem before, of course, is that the insulation around these line sets is getting caught on the nails on the roof, the lower inside part of the roof, where the nails are sticking through from the shingles. They're getting stuck. Once I get it into the roof far enough, I can get up there and grab the other end in the attic and start pulling on it. Now we're ready to connect the lines to the outside unit. I'm taking off the protective covers right now. When you're bending these lines, you can see that spring that's in my hand right there. That's over the line. That's an anti-kinking spring. It keeps it from kinking, but it works okay. You have to be careful when you're bending this stuff. Bend it slowly and give it a wide arch. Don't expect to put a real quick 90 in there. It's just not going to work. It's going to have to be a big radius, like 3-foot radius or something like that on there, minimum. So be careful when bending this stuff. It will kink. Just because it's got the anti-kink spring on there doesn't mean it won't. It will. It's just you have to be very careful, that's all. And of course, when you're ready to tighten it, make sure you get a wrench on the lower section, the part that goes onto the valve, and tighten that nut up really good. And you should be all set. So what I did here is got a long piece of PEX, 1/2-inch PEX, and I put the thermostat wire to it and taped it. And then what I did is fed it through there and pushed it into the attic to where I'm able to go inside and reach it and grab the wire. Then I was able to tidy up the wire a little bit inside, put it between the line set, and put the cover back on. And the cover just snaps back in. You're gonna have to hit it with the palm of your hand a little bit, and it'll snap back on. For the wiring, you just take a picture of the air handler and the outside unit and just wire it the same way. And just make sure all the wires are tightened up. So now I can replace the cover for the outside unit. The evaporator coil is installed. The line set, the wires going to the air handler to the outside unit are installed and all tightened up. And my thermostat wire, which I replaced from the old one because it got damaged when I was pulling out the line set on the nails on the roof. They damaged it, so I replaced that. All I have to do now is call an HVAC guy to pull a vacuum on the system, to pull all the old refrigerant out of there, whatever's left, and put in new refrigerant, 13.8 pounds of refrigerant. So you can see what that evaporator coil looked like after basically 1 year's use. Absolute garbage. All the sheet metal that was around there completely rusted. And even though the coils themselves are copper and I guess it's aluminum, the ones that go across. Garbage, absolute garbage. The way that rusted, it should be after 8-9 years of use, or at least like maybe 6-7 years of use. I would kind of expect that in a cheap unit. But this, after a year, absolute garbage. I mean, just garbage. Would I recommend this? No, absolutely not. This unit itself has been running great. I mean, it's only been a couple years. Been running good. But the air handler, the coil itself, the evaporator coil, absolute garbage. Garbage. If I knew more about these things, I would look for a different type of evaporator coil that I could put in there. But, I'm no AC guy, so it'd be a little difficult for me. But I'm just letting you guys know how I feel and what my experience has been after 2 years and have to replace it after 1.5 years. The evaporator coil, to me, that is absolutely just garbage in my book. Super low quality. That sheet metal that they used, it's galvanized, but my old unit lasted 6 or 7 years, the evaporator coil. And even that was, to me, not right. It should last longer than that. But a year, 1.5 years, garbage, garbage. So now I'm looking at maybe possibly in a year or two having to replace that again. But you know what? Instead of replacing it, I'm just going to tear this whole system out, and I'm going to have The AC guys come in here and just put a traditional one in. Try and get one with DC motors maybe, so it's more efficient. And have to spend 10, 12 grand, whatever it's going to be. Although I don't have, you know, that kind of money to be able to spend. But it's better than going through all these headaches of this. I don't know. But anyways, guys, that's my opinion on this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. To me, I would not recommend this system. At least the evaporator coil. Would not recommend it. The air handler. Absolute garbage, in my opinion. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video.